Hello everyone, this is Anisha Ansari studying in 10th standard at IT's PCMC School. Welcome to the third episode of Changemakers, a podcast project by the Student Council of IT's PCMC. Today we will be hosting Nehal Jadon, the Senior Program Manager of Teach for India Pune. Student leaders Arafat and Akansha will be hosting Nehal Jadon for today.
Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of podcast of IT's PCMC. Today we will be talking with Nehal Jadon, the Senior Program Manager of TFI Pune.
This podcast is about fighting education inequality and about the student learning leadership. As being a part of TFI, any experience in classroom, like anything that most inspired in the classroom, I want to know if you would like to tell us.
I mean, there are so many of them, but honestly, it has also been some time that I've been in the classroom. I taught in 2011 to 2013, so it's way back in time, I feel. But something that I feel constantly inspires me, motivates me is just the kind of things that I've been able to see children do, not just within my own classroom, but even right now when I step into a classroom. In fact, when we were talking earlier and you were sharing about the projects that you've done, the kind of leadership that you have displayed, those moments I find really inspiring. Just the potential in students to do things that we've never imagined of.
So I would like to know what was your motivation behind joining the TFI sector?
So, back in 2011 when I was applying for the fellowship, I never really thought that education is a space where I want to be. I was always passionate about education. Like, of course, as a child, I used to play games where I would teach a group of students in my neighborhood. I used to even teach my maid's daughter at the time. One of my friends was doing the fellowship, and I used to see her stories of her teaching in her classroom. I used to see interviews of her students talking about like their experiences in the classroom, and that really pushed me. The other motivation was also my brother. When after my college, during the placements and everything, I had gotten an offer from one of the IT companies, and my brother constantly used to tell me that you are meant for bigger and better things than this, and not just limit yourself to this. And I honestly never had that belief in myself, but I wanted to give it a shot. So I started volunteering in 2010 when I took a gap year, and in 2011 I applied for the fellowship. And those 2 years really reinforced that in my mind that this is where I want to be, this is what I see myself doing. And I still don't feel that, I don't think I'm a good teacher per se, maybe not like a great teacher of course, but I do find a lot of satisfaction with people and especially teacher coaches, and that's where I see my passion to be.
As I know that you are not a part of a TFI student, but after a long time when you joined TFI, I want to know the difference. How the difference, like the teaching sense in the school which you had and how you teach the student. I want to know the difference, how you build that and to get to know more and connected with the student.
Of course. So I studied in a convent school, and I would say that I have been very privileged in the kind of education that I have received. And at the onset, like the first difference that you see between the education that I received and then the kind of school that I was placed in during the fellowship is of course resources. My school was a private school. I had access to all kind of resources, a library, a lab, teachers, but at the same time the school that I was teaching in had none of this. There were lack of resources, there were lack of teachers. All of those things that I had part of my education were missing from the kind of school that I taught in. But at the same time, I feel when I became a teacher, in the initial few days or months, something that you're conditioned to believe from your education is, right? That you see teacher as at a pedestal and students here. And the teacher is supposed to do the learning or give the learning, and the students are supposed to receive the learning. But when I started teaching, when I started exploring the kind of trainings that we have at Teach for India, I started learning more about the education system. That's when I really understood that what teaching and learning looks like. That it's not that teachers here, students here, but it is a mutual process of learning from each other where teachers and students are at the same level. And I feel that's a difference that I didn't see in my school or my classroom, but that's a difference that I tried to bring in my own classroom. That how do I create my classroom as a space where I learn from my students as much as they learn from me, and it's a circle where we all see each other, where we all acknowledge each other and learn from each other.
So I would like to know, how is Teach for India operating in Pune and in India too currently?
Definitely. Let me start by what we're doing in Pune. I think right now is a time where we're facing a lot of big challenges. Challenges like number of students who are at risk. So luckily, all of you I see articulating, reading, writing, doing all of these things really, really well. But at the same time, there are a good percentage of students right now in our city who are more than 3 levels behind their grade level. And that's a big challenge that we're all struggling with. So literally everyone, including program staff, non-program staff, all of our responsibility in this particular year is just to ensure that we're bridging that learning gap for our students. At the same time, we are dealing with challenges which are more systemic in nature. For example, teacher shortage in schools, lack of instructional hours for learning in schools. But at the same time, I feel that we have come far ahead in terms of the kind of culture that we right now see and experience with fellows and staff. We've also never seen the number of roles that have opened in direct impact as in roles which require you to work directly with students, with schools, with communities. Right now in Pune, as they've never been before. And we're also seeing a lot more fellows interested in doing the work, staying back to teach, staying back in schools as school leaders, assistant school leaders, working as coaches. So that's something that's happening right now, which is really exciting. And I think we see very similar things in India as well, Teach for India as well.
So what kind of mindset do you think the teachers must have while teaching to the students?
For example, like lesson planning together, the student and teacher sit together and they start lesson planning to know more about student, how they are, how they want to learn, and how much better you can do in your lesson planning to enjoy also and to teach them more.
Definitely, I think that's a really good example to start with. That's what I would say, that any teacher or any educator for that matter who works with students need to operate from a mindset of belief and possibility. Belief in the sense that, it is difficult, right? This job, day-to-day basis, and you have to work from the sense of possibility and believe that it is possible, and that every single person that you are working with has their best intention at heart to do their best. So firstly, I believe that you have to believe that it's possible. You have to have belief and faith in your students, in your stakeholders that you work with. And I think second, like you rightly put, right, like a mindset of partnership, that it's not something that you can do alone. Because as a teacher or as even a one person, there is only very little that you know. Students have a very unique perspective. They are the one experiencing a lot of learning in the classroom. So they should be the right people to tell what to learn, how to learn, in fact, why to learn in the first place. So student feedback, whether it is sitting and planning a lesson with them, whether it is at the end of the classroom to ask students how they experience the classroom, is there anything that they would like to do differently, is really, really important. And I think, like third and foremost, I feel post-pandemic, we've all realized the importance of social, emotional learning as well. And I feel as a teacher, it's also really important to ensure that learning in classroom is not just academic in nature, but it also involves expressing how you are feeling, regulating your emotions, learning to express your emotions essentially in a classroom. Those three I feel are really important to operate with as a teacher or educator.
So have you ever got inspired by a student leader as you were a teacher? So would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like there are so many students who have inspired me over the years, whether it was during my fellowship or even outside my Teach for India experience. I think to start with, there was this one student in my classroom. His name is Usama. And Usama was one of the naughtiest students in my class. Like, he would create chaos in the classroom, but at the same time, I feel he's really inspired me the most, because even though that he was very naughty and he wanted to distract the classroom when learning or studying were happening. He was also somebody who was very motivated. He had no direction when we were, because I taught third standard, right? So in third standard, often you don't know what you want to do. So post class, he would have these discussions with me when he would ask me that, what do you think, Didi, I should do when I grow up? And in those conversations, I once shared with him that I'm a civil engineer. And I told him that because he was often creating a lot of chaos in math classroom, I told him that if you pay attention in math classroom, you can be a civil engineer too one day, because you need math to become an engineer. And I taught him only in third and fourth grade. He had some amazing fellows after me. But very recently, I actually got a call from Osama that he's made it to one of the best colleges in Hyderabad, and he's currently studying civil engineering. And that really inspired me, because he stayed with it, he was focused on it, and he made it happen. But I would say that, like, my contribution in it was very limited, but it was a result of a lot of good teachers that Osama had and his own discipline and motivation. But very recently, I think there are just so many different students who have inspired me, and somebody that comes to my mind is also Shruti. She was a student at Teach for India and Akanksha, and she recently spoke at the Transforming Education Summit, which was organized by Teach for All. Shruti was a student who had experienced all the different sort of phases of education. She was in Maya, the musical, and in the summit, in front of CEOs and really big leaders in education across the world, Shruti spoke about the power of education and the power of expression. She talked about student voice and how important that is, and she really talked about how educators should take students' voice into consideration in curriculum, in how lessons need to be taught, in fact even in feedback that students have to offer on the way that their classroom is. So I found that also really inspiring.
So what are some ways through which we can strengthen our leadership skills?
That's interesting. I think few ideas that come to my mind is, one, to engage in experiences, whether it is in classroom or beyond. So for example, as you are leveraging opportunities like creating your own projects, working on council, projects or ideas like that can be a great opportunity for you to build and exercise skills outside the classroom. I think like the second would also be a mindset of learning, that how do you continue to constantly enjoy learning as a process, whether it is inside classroom or outside classroom, how can you be a learner and operate from that lens. And I feel like the third way would also be to ensure that you are exposing yourself to what's happening around you, whether it is in your community, the problems in your community, or whether it is problems that are happening in your country or in your world. Being aware of that can be a great way for you to figure out how can you contribute towards solving for that.
I would like to know that where do you see our education sector from 10 years from now?
Actually, I would love to know what both of you think. Where would you want to see the education system 10 years from now?
The qualities that Teach for India students have, the same quality that other students also have, other school students, but they can't show or they don't have the opportunity to show. But after 10 years, I want to see that no, there is no division or any fragment like there is Teach for India student or any other student. Both have the same quality and they are showing in the same way.
Yes, so where I want to see our education sector from 10 years from now is every student must have their choice, and they must learn in every section, because education means learning. And learning is not just like reading the books, getting the knowledge, and that's it. A student must get educated in every sector, like sports, more extracurricular things, and of course learning books, reading books, and etc. So every student must have their choices, and there must be equal choices for everyone. Now it's like everyone is running towards becoming an engineer, doctor, but schools must give students the education so that they can get more choices and do what they want to become, not like hearing to the society and just doing what the society thinks is great. going towards their own choices and becoming what they want to.
That's beautiful what both of you said. Like, I feel if that comes true in the next 10 years, then we are sorted. Our education system is sorted. And I feel like what really struck to me about what you said are three words, right? Voice and choice and partnership. And how our education system can be run in partnership with our students, with them having an equal voice and say into each decision, as well as having the choice to study what they want to study, to do what they want to do in the school system. And that's exactly what I would want to see 10 years from now. What you said, Akansha, that I would love to see all students in India, not just students who are in Teach for India school, but students who are studying in any school across India, having the same kind of education, being at the same level, as well as what you said about students having the choice to learn what they want to learn and having the kind of resources and opportunities to do so. I feel like those two things, if that happen, our education system will be far, far better and beautiful than for students than it is right now.
Any message for our youngster who are seeing our podcast, for them how to build in leadership? And
Absolutely, I feel like the first thing though I want to share is I'm very inspired by you, and I would love for all of you to share your stories as well with others so that our other students can also get inspired. But something that I've learned in this conversation with the both of you is how important it is to understand your own self, how important it is to exercise your leadership in a way that it empowers others, the way that you have done in the council, the way that you have done with the team that you work with. So continue to be on that journey to learn and understand more about who you are as a person. Continue to empower others through the leadership that you gain and exercise. As well as lastly, continue to be the change that you wish to see in the world by contributing, by problem solving towards the challenges that you see first in your classroom, then in your school and community, and then maybe in the country or in the world.
we will play a game. Never have I ever. I have some prompt with me. I will tell some prompt to you, and you have to use this placard. If yes, then you have to show yes, and no, you won't.
Okay. Will you play this along? Like, will you also choose yes and no with me? Because it's unfair, one person playing the game.
Some question is not for me.
Okay.
But some are there. I will try to. For me, I will use my thumbs. Never have I ever laughed at reading a student homework.
Not because it was bad. My students crack a lot of good jokes in their homework. When I used to check papers, there were very funny answers that they would write in the papers.
Never have I ever spent a ridiculous amount of money on my classroom.
Guilty. Charts, a lot of gifts for my students, and like we also did a very, very small production for which we created costumes and everything.
Never have I ever lived on a coffee and chocolate for a day.
Those two both are my guilty pleasure. So sometimes, which is not a good habit, but I have.
Fourth, never have I ever taken a sick day when I was not actually sick.
No, I haven't.
Never have I ever rushed down the hall to share the latest gossip with my bestie.
I wouldn't say I have.
Never have I ever replied all to an email I should not have.
Of course I have.
Can you share it?
It's very embarrassing, but once there was an email regarding like a position through an Adam, and I responded not just to him but to the entire organization asking more details about it, and then I realized my mistake.
Never have I ever eat my tiffin in the classroom, in your fellowship or in your childhood.
More in my childhood than in my fellowship. Yeah, I used to get very hungry before lunch, so some of my friends would sit at the back bench and continue eating lunch.
So now we will go with the rapid fire as you chose for. So I will tell you some prompts and you will have to answer them. So the first prompt for you is your guilty pleasure?
Chocolates. I love chocolates. And even though I try to stay off sugar as much as possible, but I cannot.
The second one is your dream pet.
I mean, ideally it would be a cat, but I really love blue whales, and I know it's not something that you can have as a pet or even think of, but I feel that like there's something calming about seeing a whale in the ocean jumping, and if given a chance, I would definitely want to have them as a pet, but not in my home, in an ocean probably.
So next one is your dream vacation destination.
I spent some time in Ladakh, and I think like I would love to go back there as many times as possible. I really love that place, even though the temperatures are freezing, but people are really nice, and I'd love to go back there for vacation.
So a book you would like to suggest for the youngsters?
I mean, I grew up reading Harry Potter quite a bit, and I'm a huge fan, and I know there are a lot of recent controversies around it, but I feel the book still teach you a lot about love, friendship, and that's something that I would really wish for more and more children and adults to read.
So a movie which you love?
Finding Nemo is one of my favorite movies.
A quote which you follow?
I think there are so many from Harry Potter that come to my mind, especially the one that Dumbledore talks about, that whenever there is a choice between doing what is easy or doing what is right, I wish you choose right, because often the right thing to do isn't the most easiest thing to do, but it is important that you do the right thing.
So the next prompt is a dish you would never say a no to.
Dal chawal probably, but also Maggi. I think like those two things I can have anytime.
Getting fat. So what do you always wanted to be when you were a kid?
I actually wanted to be a teacher. I mean, you should ask my mom the amount of time that I have spent on that blackboard, makeshift blackboard, writing on it and teaching kids in my neighborhood. I always wanted to be a teacher. In fact, I was a teacher in one of the fancy dress competitions as well. And somehow I'm still one.
Okay, so now we are coming to the end, or have came to the end of this section. So now you have the time for asking some questions to us if you would like to.
The moment I've been waiting for. Okay, we'll start with some rapid fire questions then. Ready? Okay. Your favorite hobby?
My
Running.
Running.
acting and rapping.
Acting and rapping. Amazing. Favorite book that you read?
Sudha Murthy, The Dollar Book.
Okay, so interesting.
I have read a lot of books. My favorite one is, I'm currently reading the one, The Wheel of Time.
The Wheel of Time. Nice. What is your guilty pleasure?
Playing with myself.
Shreya injury. He's got an injection because of that. Today.
Because the cat.
Yes.
Having street food a lot.
Street food you love the most?
The most vada pav.
So if you could eat only one thing, only and only one thing for the rest of your life, what would you eat?
That is potato. I every day bring in my tiffin, that is potato. All 12 months.
We have so many people on our team also who do exactly that and will give the same answer. What about you?
Mine is biryani.
Oh, nice. Okay, last rapid fire question. If you could live in any other part of the world other than Pune, where would you want to live and why?
I would like to live in like Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, this middle part, because from some idols, I don't want to take their names, otherwise they will come and interfere there. But in there, like from my studies, I have studied a lot there, the discrimination, the inequality, the cases I have read it. From that, I want to leave their place on that place, and I want to, if I get a chance, like I want to join NDA. Like for that, I want to solve that cases. That's why I want to live in between of Uttar Pradesh and Delhi, and to clean that rush.
So you want to change the world for the better.
Yes.
I am the kind of person who always thinks what if. So the place I would like to be is an island, abandoned island. I just think what will I do if I get abandoned on an island? How will I react? What will I do? And yes, that's it.
And have you come up with a plan yet?
There are several thoughts in my mind every time I think about it. So not a perfect plan.
Interesting. Okay, now I'll ask a more serious question. Since you asked me a lot of questions about advice that I would like to give young leaders or students, but I would love to know what advice that you would like to give to teachers and educators everywhere, for them to, anything that you would want to share for the benefit of students.
Like as I know and from my previous experience, there is no age of a leader. A leader can in a small age or a big age. There is a determination in a leader, and also teacher needs to take feedbacks, not as only that not to know the good thing and bad thing, but to know what is the reality, and also while have a partnership with the teacher and student, because if a teacher is connecting with a student, he or she can come to student and frequently ask his or her doubt, to more be open, and it will help your teacher also to have a good experience with it.
Amazing, Anju.
So I think that the teachers must go for the student choices. Of course, they are the one who are learning. Yeah, there must be the things which they have to be taught, not like just going for the student choices and taking them for PE the whole day and letting them play, leaving the education aside. So that must not happen. But yes, take their choices, take their opinions, like what happened in our school. I went for a media retreat with the teachers. They asked me for what changes should we take in the classroom to make the class culture better, the learning style better. So there were discussions on it. We had a nice discussion. Engaging with the student is one of the most important things the teachers must do, because if there is no safe space between the teachers and the student won't find it interesting for learning with the teachers. So yeah,
That's really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Arafat.
So I would like to thank you a lot for taking out your time and coming for this podcast. Yes, I would like to thank myself too, because I also took out time for this.
So
Yeah,
I am also there.
She too.
Thank you so much. It is very, very clearly one of the best days that I've had at work today. So thank you so much for coming here and doing this. I don't know about all of you, but I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस मन बहुत था.
Especially rapid fire में when I got to ask you questions.
Sudden moment हमको भी सोचना है.
Can we thank our cameraman also?
बबलू मतलब मेन था, भैया तुम्हारे को भैया ने तो हमको लेके आए हैं, बट बबलू आया एंड टाइम पे और हमारी हेल्प हो गई.
और इसके पेशेंस के साथ start.
Patience we have not laughing on our jokes.
Yes.
और our mistakes.
हाँ, नहीं तो कैमरा हिल जाता और पॉडकास्ट में थोड़ा सा अलग दिखता, तो मजा नहीं आता.